This video is sponsored by Netgear. The Magic Keyboard for the iPad Pro is one of the most transformational products we've seen. I think it's more important, or at least does more and changes more than even iPad OS does. It's a fundamental change on how you think about and use an iPad. And for me, I know I've been using it a ton more. And since a lot of us are doing more work from home in this current situation, for me, I like to stay away from my desk as much as I can. You know, I obviously have to do work on my computer, edit videos, all that kind of stuff. But when I'm not doing strictly video editing, hard, intensive work, I just don't want to sit at my desk. There's this creeping blending of work life, home life. They start to come together very easily. You have to be really diligent about separating them. So I've put together my ideal iPad Pro setup. Since it does so much more now, there's a lot more options that lets me do everything I need to do, but I don't have to be sitting in front of my Mac. So I have the 2020 iPad Pro. It's the 12.9 inch version, 256 gigabytes. I did not get LTE, which I would not be using right now anyway. And with it, of course, is that Magic Keyboard. Now this, I think, is probably the ultimate portable setup. Yes, the Magic Keyboard is a little heavy, but it's still plenty portable. You can carry with you, and it's not a huge deal. And overall, in the few weeks that I've been using it, I love the Magic Keyboard. I love the way it looks. I love the way it types. Trackpad's great. Like, pretty much everything about it, I love. I thought at first that the viewing angles were not that great. I wish there was more, and you know, I still do, but as I've used it, I've kind of gotten used to them, and they actually, you know, pretty much work for every situation that I've had. I haven't had a situation where I needed it to tilt back more. It would just be nice if it did, because it seems like it's possible. I love the way the keys feel. I think typing on it is a great experience. I love that it has a backlight. Like, everything about the keyboard is great, but it needs some sort of function keys. I didn't expect to want this as much as I do, but being able to control the brightness or the volume and everything just from the keyboard when I'm already typing is something that you're just used to from other devices, and it doesn't really make too much sense that it's not here. But I think that's one of the big misses with this keyboard. Again, something I think they need to fix in version 2. And the trackpad is one area I was kind of worried about before I got it. The trackpad is so small, but I've gotten used to it. It did take me a few days to get used to it, and it wasn't just because I was not used to using a trackpad in iOS. It was just the gestures and everything. The size of it took some getting used to. But luckily, it's not that diving board design where you can only click on the bottom. You can click everywhere. It works well. But having a trackpad with the iPad is something I'm really liking. There have been some complaints about battery life. Personally, I haven't experienced those, but I know it's an ongoing issue that hopefully can be fixed with software rather than hardware. If it's a hardware issue, that's going to be a problem, but hopefully software can fix this. And overall, I've just really enjoyed the Magic Keyboard. I'm glad it exists. It's too expensive, definitely too expensive. And that kind of got me thinking, you know, for that price, is this what you actually need? Do you need to just buy the Magic Keyboard, or could you get something else? So here's what I have set up. So these are a few products I put together to basically give you the same experience as the Magic Keyboard, but for a little bit of a cheaper price, and also actually gives you some better functionality overall. So first off is a few products from Satechi, and I wasn't sure how they were going to work out at first before I got them, but once I used them, I was actually pretty impressed. They work pretty well. First is the stand. It's called the R1. It kind of looks like an iMac stand, which is, you know, neat. It kind of matches with some aesthetic that you might already have. But what I like about it is you can actually angle it in many different ways. So again, I said the Magic Keyboard needs to fix those angles. Well, this, you can tilt it as far back as you want pretty much. You can also get really low if that's something you want to do. There's just so many more options with this stand. And if you want, it folds up very small if you want to take it with you, or just put it away when you're not using it. This is a pretty functional option. And same with the compact keyboard. This is actually a keyboard I had for a while and used as my main keyboard. And there's really not too much to say here. As a keyboard, it feels great to type on, but what it does do is it gives you all your function row, it gives you volume control, brightness control, all those things that you're missing from the Magic Keyboard, you do have here. So it's obviously not an iPad limitation. You can do all of those things natively in the software. You just need the hardware on the keyboard to do it, and this one gives it to you. And this can really be interchanged with any keyboard you have, really. So if you're using the Magic Keyboard from Apple, the desktop one, or if you're using like what I use for my Mac, the Keychron, which is a mechanical keyboard, that will all work here as well and still give you that same functionality. Since the keyboard just runs over Bluetooth, you can attach pretty much anything. And for the trackpad, I'm just using Apple's Magic Trackpad 2, obviously. So this works great. It gives you all the exact same functionality, but the trackpad is big, so you can do a lot more gestures in just a bigger space. It feels much more comfortable. comfortable. And it's high quality, and you can use it with other devices if you ever choose to. If you have your Mac set up or anything, you can use that same trackpad on your Mac. Now with all of this, of course, you need a good connection to actually use it. Like I said, I'm doing all my work here, so I need to be able to have that strong Wi-Fi connection. And that is where the Netgear Nighthawk comes in. So this is the Nighthawk AX12, and it's a 12-stream Wi-Fi 6 router. So for me, where I live, it's not very big, so I don't need something like a mesh system to cover a ton of square footage. I just need one really solid device to give me the best Wi-Fi, and this does that. I pay for gigabit speeds here, so 1,000 up and 1,000 down, and over Wi-Fi, I'm never anywhere close to that. With Wi-Fi 6, the biggest thing I noticed on my iPad Pro and every other Wi-Fi 6 device I had was better speeds. Typically, I would get between 150 and 200 on Wi-Fi, but now consistently, I get at least 600. It's a huge difference. And what's great is that you can connect many more devices without affecting the performance. The capacity is much greater. It's also really easy to set up. There's a Nighthawk app, you just download it and you're up and running really quickly, which is nice. And you can also monitor, make sure everything is working as it should. And it has support for Google Assistant and Alexa, so you can control your network just with your voice. And besides being Wi-Fi 6, this has pretty much every feature you would want. You have multi-gig Ethernet ports for super fast speeds. You have great range with these Kylo Ren ship looking antennas. And even though it is Wi-Fi 6, it is compatible with any Wi-Fi device. Netgear also offers Netgear Armor, which is their antivirus. But what's different about this is instead of installing it on your device, it works through the router. So whatever device is connected to your Nighthawk will automatically be protected. And this is important because devices like IoT, lighting, thermostats, those things are protected at the network level, and you get an additional layer of protection for devices on the go. With Wi-Fi 6, you can connect more devices, you get more stable coverage, and you get farther coverage, so it can cover more space. When you're working from home, making sure your network is as reliable as possible is important. And if this is something you want to try for yourself, check out the link down in the description. You can learn more about it and get one for yourself. So all that setup is great, but you might be asking yourself, okay, this is good for when I'm here at my desk, but what am I going to do when I go somewhere else if I'm not going to use the smart keyboard? One of the options I have really enjoyed, I got it back when it came out, is a Logitech Keys To Go. This I would compare to the smart keyboard for the iPad. It's a mushy keyboard that doesn't have the best key feel, but it gives you all the keys that you would want. It has those function keys, it even has dedicated home button, all that kind of stuff that you would want. It's a dedicated iOS keyboard. But what's great is it is super, super light and portable. Like it doesn't weigh anything. So you could just keep it in your bag if you wanted to and never have to take it out unless you're typing on the go. It is tiny. This is a keyboard that I actually use all the time before I got the smart keyboard back in the day, and it's fine. Like it does the job pretty well. Everything you would want from a keyboard on the go, this does. So for all of these iPad accessories, you can get them for $320, which is a little bit cheaper than the $350 I paid for the Magic keyboard. And it's just a little bit more than the $300 for the 11-inch version. And you might be asking yourself, why would I buy those when I could just, pay a little bit more or even a little bit less and just get the Magic keyboard from Apple? And I think there's a few reasons. My worry is in the future, from now on, you're just gonna have to tack on $300 or $350 to every iPad purchase you make, because once you get used to using this Magic keyboard, it's gonna be hard to go back. And unless Apple drastically reduces the price to like the smart keyboard price, which is still, a little high, and now takes the already kind of expensive iPad Pro price and raises it even more. But if you buy these third-party accessories, none of them are tied to the actual iPad hardware. You can use them with any iPad or any tablet, really. So you can kind of think of the current iPad as the brain. You just swap it out whenever there's an update, and everything else stays the same. You don't have to get used to anything new, and it just all works. It's a one-time cost that right now is very similar to the Magic keyboard, but over time it's going to be much cheaper. But there is a chance that that won't be the case. It would be awesome if Apple did what they did with the 2018 iPad Pro. That is completely compatible with the Magic keyboard. So what if in the future it was also compatible with the next version of the hardware? Because really all that needs to stay the same is where the pins are, the camera cutouts, it needs to fit in that space, and it needs to be the same basic size. Now, I don't think Apple really will do this. I don't even know if they should do that, but that would be a way to not have to spend that money every single time. But either way, I've really enjoyed the functionality the Magic Keyboard brings me, and beyond that, what iPad OS and the trackpad bring. It's a big step in the right direction. I hope at WWDC this year we see even more of a push in that direction. But finally, the iPad Pro gives me most of what I need to do my work. But this setup with my iPad lets me be more mobile, lets me work in more places, and work in a just more comfortable way. So whether or not you get your own third-party accessories or you just buy the Magic Keyboard, I'm really glad the direction Apple's taking, and I can't wait for the future.